Bienvenidos a Generación Latina, your host here, Carolina Pena. And tonight I want to introduce you to a national leader. We have the honor of being here with David Pena. I want to say David Pena in Spanish, of course. Now, note this, we are not related. David has a great story, just of an up-and-coming national leader, and his background being born in Texas will give us kind of a different taste for what we normally see here on the studio. But he's here now in Washington, D.C., heading up the Hispanic Dental Association. So many of you who might consider dentistry as a profession or as being an oral health professional, I think I want you to listen to some of the resources he's going to share, but more importantly, what he is about. The story of an immigrant like many of us and our parents, and becoming somebody not only educated but in leadership, and leading many students and organizations that I think will give us a sense for what it's like to be in his shoes, what it's like coming from a very small town in Texas and making it to Washington, D.C. So David, muchas gracias. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So David, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What was it like growing up in Texas?
I'm originally from South Texas, and so I've been on a national journey to get to D.C. My family is a family of farm workers in South Texas. We migrated to North Texas and Kansas over the years, and that's actually what got me to college, because I went through the College Assistant Migrant Program, which is a scholarship program for first-generation migrant students. And so that's how I ended up in college, and that really is what opened the doors for me.
So it's interesting because a lot of the Latino youth in our area, don't really have that kind of experience of, growing up in a migrant working family. What is that like, just to begin with?
I mean, it's all we knew. And so as a teenager or a preteen, it was sort of the excitement of getting out of school and getting in a truck, all the family, to move up north to go work in the fields. So we'd work in cotton fields, we'd clean up fields, we'd different areas of North Texas and in Kansas, and then we'd return in August just in time for school. So it was sort of our little vacation, but it was also what solidified as a family unit working together and making enough money for the remaining part of the year when we return back to our home. And actually my parents and my grandparents have all worked in the same area, many times working for the same individuals in the same family. So we're a multi-generational farm worker family.
Very cool. So now I know this is really the reality for hundreds, who knows, maybe millions of Hispanic families, mostly out west and in the south. Is it common for a young Latino growing up in a migrant family to go to college or even finish high school?
It isn't common, and a lot of it is the different families sometimes leave depending and follow the crop. So some of the families that go to California and follow to Oregon and follow the north. So we were in some ways lucky that our migration was only for about 4 or 5 months. And so a lot of times it does affect adversely a lot of migrant students because they're taken out of school early. They're put in a different school, so the adjustment period is harder. So it is that much harder for migrant students or students from migrant families to get into college because, one, they usually fall behind in education, and so there's not the sort of continuity in education. Sometimes they don't graduate because they've been behind a couple of years, or they've had to be the provider in the family and lead the family of farm workers. So in many ways, yes, we were a migrant family, but we had sort of the opportunity that our family felt that education was important, and so we'd migrate and then be home in time to, at the very minimum, be late and start school, but also be part of the start of the school year.
So give me an idea, 16, 17-year-old David, what are you thinking you're going to do the rest of your life?
Well, what's really interesting, I usually get the question of, what did you want to do? What was your career choice? And I think when I was a teenager, all I wanted to do was something different. I could see through being in school and some extracurricular activities that I'd been in competitions, I knew that there was more to being, and education was going to be that catalyst. And so for me, it was really about wanting to do something different. Nobody in my family had been to college, so there wasn't sort of that, a mentor that could tell me this is what you do. And I actually ended up by chance, we were helping our counselor move his office from one end of the building to the other. And I was helping, and I saw a brochure that there was a scholarship program for migrant students. And so I applied for the program. And the university that I attended, St. Edward's University, is one of the few universities in the country that actually has a program for, it's called the College Assistant Migrant Program, which is CAMP. It's a 4-year scholarship program for students, and it's not only a scholarship program, but there's a support group, a support effort with the university supporting the students and our success. And so I'm very grateful for that program because it really did change my life.
Yeah, you mentioned this program was a scholarship, but it also provided like tutoring and just kind of the whole environment that you needed to succeed, given that you maybe did not have the opportunities that many other students could have had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was essential to my success at the university, because having come from a small town, going to a major city, not having the sort of the influence of someone who had gone to college, so being a first generation, being away from the family, all those were challenges that I had to overcome, but the sort of family network structure that the university created for college students was really part of what changed my life.
That's awesome. And it's something that we take for granted. In this county here, Montgomery County, and really in many other places in the United States, there's just kind of a growing awareness that a lot of undocumented students need that kind of support, that the one that you receive, for example. So I'm really excited that I know, at least here in Montgomery County, we recognize, Montgomery College has made just has taken huge steps to recognize the value in undocumented students and also their inability to pay up for college. So I know that we're doing a lot, and we definitely hope to see more. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, so once you get to college, and I mean, did you think you'd be like a big industry farmer since you'd been all around farming, or what sort of, what went next?
Well, what I was fortunate about also was that the university is a liberal arts university, so I got to take a lot of courses that sort of gave me the opportunity to look at what was out there. I also was able to get an internship through the university at the legislature, so it sort of exposed me, and Austin being the capital of Texas also, where the legislature, to be an intern at the Capitol, to see how the political process works. And so I was able to sort of determine what career path that I want. And I chose political science. And so that was really, for being in Austin at that university, studying political science, was really for me just the catalyst to really change where I wanted to be and give me the opportunity to look at different paths. And that's the path I chose, to major in political science.
So what's cool is that when I know about you, I mean, you've gotten to, have your hands in both business, government, nonprofits. You've dealt with huge national organizations, and currently you are the leader of one. And so you've gotten kind of a sense and feel for all of these types of organizations that are all around us in society. So what sort of unique perspective have you been able to gain, seeing all these industries and sectors? Like I just think you have such a diverse perspective, which is really cool, and you're a young, rising Latino, a national leader. So what would you give us?
I think you are a combination of your experiences, and so not only having been a migrant and living in different cities, but also the exposure at the liberal arts university, what I was able to see, what was the opportunity. And so as you've sort of alluded to, I owned my own business and went that route. I'm a small business owner, entrepreneur. Then I worked for government, sort of trying to tie back the political science aspect, and then ended up in nonprofits. And that's really been, for 16 years, I've managed nonprofits, and that's really been my passion. And it's really tied to helping the Latino community and giving back, because I've seen how education can change a life, how mentorship can change a life. And so I think that leading a charitable organization specifically that helps the Latino community can be impactful, and one person can make a difference, and I hope that I'm making that difference.
Certainly. What has been, in all these years, would you say the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? Granted, getting to college was huge, but for you?
The biggest challenge for me has been being away from the family. So as most Latinos, we grew up in a very tight-knit community, and so you're with your tias, your tios, your cousins, your family, your brothers, and so wanting a sort of broader path and sort of trying to seek those opportunities. A lot of times those opportunities aren't in the small communities that we come from. And so that's been the biggest challenge, as sort of being away from the family, seeking a career path. But there can be a balance, and especially nowadays with technology and sort of, I set up my mom with Skype, and so we can talk. And so there's that connection. My nieces and my nephews are more, computer savvy, and so we're connected. But that's probably been the biggest challenge, is just being away from your family when you're seeking those career opportunities in the larger cities or where the national organizations are, has been the biggest challenge for me.
That is such an interesting perspective, because I know, as I was pursuing my own career dreams, I would often ask all the people that that had these amazing careers in, let's say, journalism or all kinds of things. I would always ask them, what's been kind of the one thing you'd have to sacrifice to have had the great career you have? And oftentimes they would say family. Mm-hmm. And that, just gave me enough information to know I would not want to end up where they are because I have my own values. But mm-hmm. I think it's really important for anybody to know just what is the cost of pursuing that dream. Is it something you're willing to do it? And all the other ways that you can sort of make it work, make work whatever you feel you may lose, right? And maybe not seeing your mom every weekend, but at least in staying in touch. And I think that I'm glad you bring that up. One solid piece of advice from your own personal experience, what would it be?
I'd say build a network. And it's not only a personal network, a business network, but also just a broader network of individuals that can be your mentors, can be a resource, because it's important to balance out yourself when you're seeking a career, when you've arrived in some ways in that career that you're sought out. But at the same time, there's actually going to be a point in your life that you now say, okay, I have my network, I want to be part of someone else's network that is coming up, so you can make that difference. So having a network and staying connected to that network. And a lot of ways now, technology is that conduit to staying connected. So whether it's an email of how you're doing, an email of can I help you, is there a project, a congratulations, great job.
Not just LinkedIn then.
Yeah, not just LinkedIn and saying that, I've got a broader network. It's actually staying connected with people and what they're doing, how you can be helpful, how can you be resourceful, because those are the individuals that if you ever need, and even if you don't need, it's a good way to sort of just stay connected with what's going on around you, the broader community, but also stay connected with where you came from and also where you're going.
Absolutely. That is so true. And I think that's how we connected, through
Absolutely.
Somebody in our mutual network, and I think, it's been really great. I often tell, students, of all the jobs that I've had, I think I've only had to apply to one. Everything else has been because of my network. And so it's absolutely the way to go. Of course, it's all about who you know. But more than that, it's also about who you help.
Correct.
So I believe that, and yeah, thank you. We're going to keep talking about this, and also, like I said, how I'm helping him as well with the Hispanic Dental Association. So stay with us. We will be right back.